So our first question for you, Hannah, is like, what experience growing up inspires you to pursue voice acting?
Ooh. Well, I grew up doing commercials in New York. My dad used to make commercials, so I grew up kind of in front of a camera, and I occasionally did like a little, voiceover thing for him as well, but it was all commercial. And I knew I wanted to go into theater. What I was like, I'm going to be on Broadway, and I was like my whole plan. And one does not simply become a Broadway star; one must work towards it. I didn't get into a specific program I wanted to in college. I got into the college, but I didn't get into a specific program, and that made me go like, oh God, wait, can I not do musical theater? And then I genuinely had this epiphany in a hotel in Italy when I was doing my study abroad in Padua, and I realized that I loved playing Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is like the game that caused it. Kingdom Hearts 2, I used to always cry watching the end credits of it and being like, I want to be a part of something beautiful like this. And I was talking to a friend and I just had an epiphany and I was like, wait, that's a job. That's a job people do. People get to create these things and work on video games and tell stories and all this media that I love consuming, all the cartoons and anime and video games I love consuming. What if I just did that? And so at that point, it was just a matter of, specifically focusing my studies, making sure that I had the last 2 years of college, I was gaining the toolbox I needed to approach voiceover specifically. And then going back home and taking workshops and things like that. So yeah.
Amazing.
So Kingdom Hearts 2 is the short answer.
Thank you.
It's if you know the end theme, it's that da na na.
I've never once played Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, so we're gonna have to change that.
All I know is just when you walk away is my jam, but I've never once played.
Please, oh baby.
How did you not get into singing?
What?
How did you not get into theater with that?
I know. I'm such a theater kid. It's my parents told me. I was back home for may he rest in peace, my great uncle's funeral, and I was talking to one of my uncles about stuff, and he was like, "You used to be so quiet," and I was like, "Me? What are you talking about?" And my mom was like, "No, Alegra, you were a really quiet kid until someone gave you a microphone or put you in front of a crowd, on a little stage, and then you would grab the microphone and start singing for everyone." And I was like, "Oh God, I really was one of those kids."
Hi there, my name is Cece from Zul Fujoshi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, what attracted you to roles like Maki Zenin and Miwa?
Well, they're both so different. So, I didn't audition for either of them. They just kind of, at this point I had a relationship with the studio. And so when Maki showed up, we were, obviously going episode by episode. When Maki showed up, they were just like, we know someone who's good for this. And they just sent an email to my agent going like, oh, does Alegra want to play Maki? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. What's this? What's the show? Jujutsu Kaisen? That's weird. Okay. Not knowing at that point that it was going to be JJK of all things. And then Miwa was kind of an addition as we were going in to record episode 8. They already had me in for Maki. And they were like, can you play Miwa too? Look up the wiki. Don't they fight each other later? Do we have to worry about that? No. Okay. All right, you asked for it. All right. Ooh, we'll cross this bridge in a couple episodes. Let's go. But yeah, they're both so different, and I like to say they're kind of different aspects of my personality. Obviously, when I'm not being super hyper, when I'm kind of just sitting here and being really chill. Sometimes I feel like a Maki. I think Maki is way. And I love her. She's way meaner of a person than I am. I mean, she's everyone's internal monologue, isn't she? The one where she's just the one where you're being a little unfair and unkind sometimes because you're just really grumpy. That's Maki in me when I'm grumpy and the things I don't say out loud because I have to choose to be nice, as everyone does. And then Miwa is, I don't know, it's I feel like I usually get to play characters like Maki, characters that fall into that range of my voice and everything. So a character of Miwa is a breath of fresh air. She's fun, she's perky, she's that very bubbly, giggly side of my personality that I'm sure you guys have seen at this point. getting to, I feel like I'm giving a little bit of myself in each character. So I feel like you get to see a slightly more complete picture of who I am by knowing that I'm both of them. Obviously not the full complete picture, because then I would be a little worried about how much of myself I'm putting into this and how much I post online about myself. But which is to say I don't much anymore. Boy, you can tell I had insomnia last night right now. But yeah, no, I think that I don't always get to play characters like Miwa, so I'm always very excited when I get to play, cute girls like her.
Very cheerful.
Very cheerful. And then characters like Maki, they're so cool and badass, and sometimes it lets me get a little bit of my aggression out, just getting to not be nice for a second. I remember I was working on the JJK video game specifically, and I realized that all of her lines, all of her interactions with all the different characters she's ostensibly friends with, are like, pick up the pace, like, yeah, that wasn't so bad, and things like that. And I'm like, damn girl, you can't even give a compliment normally? And that made me realize I like playing mean characters. She's not bad, she's just mean. That's kind of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Alegra. My name is Zayden. I'm a representative for Anime Magic 2024.
Ew.
It's a pleasure that you came to our amazing convention.
Thank you.
And let's start it off. So I had the pleasure of interviewing Kaiji, or KG, pertaining to a certain colleague of mine. But I asked him pertaining to a curse technique energy. So now is my chance to ask you, in Jujutsu Kaisen, what customized curse technique would you have rather than the one that you possess now? Would you change it, or
would I change Maki's,
yeah,
or would I, or for me myself?
For you yourself.
I don't know. I actually really like Maki's lack of cursed energy. I think it's such a huge part of who she is, and that's such a huge part of the chip on her shoulder, knowing that she came from a very abusive situation where she was treated like she was nothing because she had so little, and also because she was a girl, and we all know the Zenin clan are a bunch of patriarchal little pieces of poop. I figure cursing shouldn't happen right now, even though it's 9 a.m. So I think, that aspect of her, and obviously without getting into spoilers for things to come in the anime or things that have only been portrayed in the manga so far, I think I really like that aspect of her. It's kind of like the badass normal thing, where rather than having like what is essentially a cool magic power, she's just really, really strong and really, really good at weapons and fast and like intense. And I kind of dig that. And there's a part of me that would be kind of attracted to that as well. Just like the power of just kicking butt really hard. Man, for me, I just want her to do something useful. I just want her to be useful. Maybe she can have Gojo's abilities.
Well,
we'll take Miwa, the exact character of Miwa, with all the low self-esteem and everything, and just give her unlimited. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that works. I mean, everyone wants Gojo's powers. I mean, you can tell everyone's been cosplaying Gojo, everyone. I mean,
Megan the Stallion.
Yeah.
I want her to cosplay as Maki so badly. Manga Maki. I want her to go for manga Maki. I think she would look great, and maybe I'll just like start tagging her on Instagram with my desire for this. Like if she's gonna hit up Adam MacArthur to do something, I'm still bitter about.
Or have her split right down the middle of before Maki and after.
Damn. I don't know. She's just hot. I think she looks like great as Maki. That's all I'm saying. I know it had to be Adam because it's the UG and the like a tall woman with a big ass and that thing, but like should have been me. Should have been me. I love you, Adam. Should have been me. So yeah.
Did you have something?
I'm going at the end. I got the 10 minutes at the end, so all you, girl.
So, what do you do to get into character? Is like difficult to do with each new role being different from the last, or?
So sometimes when I go in for a session, I don't necessarily know what I'm about to go in and work on, or I don't have a strong sense of who the character is. So I try to, at least in those situations, I try to just kind of be like a very blank slate and look at the character. And that's the acting training. You make a lot of really, really flash, like really quick decisions based off of the information you're provided, and just kind of form it as best as possible and let the sort of the course let everything take its course. But when I already know the character, obviously, and I'm going in for a second session, or I know it's something I auditioned for, so I know what I'm going in on, believe it or not, one of the things I do is I try to listen to music that feels like them sometimes. I don't always do it, but it's like maybe it's like I'm turning on like a really badass playlist, or if it's a character who has a specific accent, sometimes I'll turn on music in that language, just to like kind of get that in my ear. When I was working on I had a very mean, fun, violent playlist for when I was working on Gun Gale Online, Pita Hui. It was a very, very aggressive one, but it was a lot of fun, and it helped me get into her because she was such a weird place in my head and such a weird place within me that it was like it helped me to do that. And then some characters at this point I've portrayed for so long that I barely even have to think about it anymore. I just hear a little bit of myself or hear a little bit of the reference, and then I go like, okay, yeah, it's it. Like at this point, I don't think about someone like Maki. At this point, maybe I just listen to the reference for a second just to remember exactly where I placed her vocally, but otherwise I'm just like, all right, yeah, I know how to find Maki Zenin. Like, she's just kind of here. She's, being a little mean. It's great. So yeah, but the music helps too. And sometimes it's nice because I'll like sing along in the car, and that helps warm up my voice too. So it's a good tool, whether it's a specially curated list or me going and listening, going like, okay, which artist do I want to listen to? Which artist feels like this right now? Or, just listening to music and knowing that that's warming up my voice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any, I know this is kind of like a hard ask because it's like asking your favorite child or something, but what is the most memorable moment you've shared?
Oh, okay, that's easier. If you were going to ask me who my favorite character was, I'd be like, no, can't do it. I refuse to do it. Or sometimes I say additional voices just to be... Most memorable moment. Ooh, I feel like that shifts so much because it's like there's a little bit of recency bias in terms of like what was the most like something that happened in the past year might be, at least in the immediate sense, a little bit more memorable than something else. Do I want to give this one? I'm going to, and then I can give a different answer instead as well if this one's a little too risque. Fully Coolly Progressive.
Nice.
Great show. I was such a big Fully Coolly fan when I was a kid, so I, getting to be in it in any capacity, it was like a little baby Allegra's dream come true. From like little Allegra watching Toonami too late, not her parents not knowing she's still awake, kind of a deal. And so episode 1, there's a bit where Haruka shows adult entertainment to the kids to try to elicit a reaction in them, and yada yada. And they were like, can you be one of them, the girl doing solo work? And I'm like, it was my first session working at this studio, and I was like, okay, let's go. Like, we're making some very intimate personal noises right now at 10 a.m. Let's do it. And it was like the very end of the session too. And it was because Maki, who's the head of, or one of the heads of production IG, we went to like a massage place, like a normal massage place, but it was like kind of like a larger room, like kind of like a group space, and everyone was kind of getting a massage, and like fully clothed, everything. But there was one woman who was kind of like, if I was here, she was like right there, and she was kind of like moaning in the massage in the way that some people do, and it's not necessarily a sexual thing, it's just the release of the muscles and everything. She was doing it, and it was very loud, and she had a slightly deeper voice, and Maki was like, what were you doing, Allegra? And I was like, it's not me, I'm not doing it. And ever since, and it was that was the thing that made her go, Allegra's gonna make sex noises. And I was like, I didn't even do it, you haven't even heard my sex noises. So that's the risque answer. Absolute recency bias with this one, but the other one would be finally getting to do a Sailor Senshi transformation recently for Sailor Moon Cosmos, because when we dubbed Sailor Stars, Princess Kakyu, like, man, they completely nerfed her in the original series and she didn't get to do anything. And in the manga, she had a transformation since Crystal and, those subsequent, the movies were a more faithful adaptation. She actually got to transform. And much like with Fooly Cooly, I was like such a Moonie growing up. I started watching it when I was 10 years old. And I had my own original Sailor Moon Sona and everything. So getting to like literally be paid to officially go, King Mako Star Power, make. I started crying after I did it. I was like, it's been 26 years and I'm finally getting to do this thing. It was the coolest thing on the planet.
Thank you.
Yeah. So depending on your audience, you can either do the dirty answer or the more heartwarming answer.
So for my inquiry or next question, so for creator of Bleach, Tite Kubo, I know he had another project, Burn the Witch.
Yes.
And you're also known for Noel. I'm gonna mess up
Mihashi. Yeah.
So when working on that project, was there any difficulties knowing that this was a Tite Kubo project because he's so proficient? He's been in the industry so many years pertaining to Bleach, but when he did a different project, how was it? Trying to, how do you want to say, not supersede Bleach, but how did you make it different where it's like this is a project where Burn the Witch can battle with Bleach, if anything?
Oh, see, I'm under the impression, and I might be wrong, but they do take place in the same universe, don't they? Burn the Witch and Bleach take place in the same universe. So rather than it being, at least in my mind, like one is different or better, it's just kind of getting to play in the same worlds in my own way, in a very different set of characters, different rules, different general lore and humor. Getting to just do something like, similar but different in the Bleach world was really cool. And in a way, like I've gotten to work on some big franchises before with like incredibly prolific creators. Like by then I'd already worked on, Sailor Moon, I'd worked on Fooly Cooly and everything. So, there's always something a little bit intimidating going into something that is like so long standing. Actually getting to be in Gun Gale Online as opposed to Sword Art Online.
Yes.
Gun Gale being like the spin-off of something that's like so established and well known, but has its own kind of energy and sense of humor despite being in the same universe. It was kind of a similar situation. And in a way, I guess it feels like, Burn the Witch is Bleach's redheaded stepchild, much like how Gun Gale Online is Sword Art's redheaded stepchild. But I kind of like working on those like slightly quirky, different things as opposed to like obviously being in like the main franchise is like cool as hell, but also getting to do something a little bit different and exist in the same area but with a different set of rules is kind of fun. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly.
Oh no, you are.
Yeah.
I mean, the most important part is just when in the industry, right, or just in the community when it's in manga or anime, it's just so weird when you see someone that's like Bankai, and then they go to Burn the Witch and people are just so, it's almost different. It's like almost when, what's it called? Like Slam Dunk or Vagabond. The creator of Vagabond created, also a basketball anime.
Yeah.
So it's one of those two spectrums where it's like, you can go from something so like hostile and more samurai to a sports
anime, yeah.
To a sports anime.
No, it's cool and it's fun to do that. Much like how, Sword Art is a lot more, and I say it's very lovingly, harem, fantasy. It's all based around like one person and the relationships, and he's going to different places and exploring different things. Whereas Gun Gale is just I'd say Gun Gale is kind of continues, but also extends the theme of Sword Art Online, where it's like, who do you want to be in this world? All of the characters are projecting, well, I'd say actually Pito and Len are projecting so hard in particular about who they want to be as opposed to who they are. And that is so fundamental to how they engage both in world and outside of world. And, how Karen engages with the concept of Pito and also the Pito that she doesn't know is Pito, but that she idolizes and everything. So it's it's interesting, and also like it's this kind of like weird, funny, violent, like extremely like uber violent, quirky series that I think is so much fun. And by the way, when they announced season 2 of Gun Gale, I screeched because I don't know, I haven't heard anything at this point with regards to whether or not I'm going back in. I imagine I will, but nothing yet. But I am so excited. When I thought I was done being in Pito's shoes, I got very sad, and now getting to go back, I'm like, yes. And I hope I get to do more with Noelle as well. She was a lot of fun, very, very calm, level-headed, but sweet at the same time. Yeah, like she's like she has her front, but she's also very sweet at the same time. I really liked Noelle, and it was since we just did the movie, it was kind of like a short little experience, but I thought she was really cool, and I'd like to do more there too.
I hope you do pursue that, most definitely.
Yeah.
So we know that you voice a lot of beautiful women.
Yes.
But this question is actually about the creatures that you voice. And so you know that you can't decide what your favorite character is, but what would be your favorite creature? And it could be a humanoid creature too, because Spider-Mom is one of my favorite of yours. I actually own her Funko Pop, so when she came out, I was like, oh, she has my name. It's crazy, but
I know she does. Yeah, she's just known as Mother Spider Demon, and that's
she's
it.
mothering, and that's all.
She's mothering. She's mothering, but like when you see who she really is, she's so young, and she was forced by Rui to be in this awful situation. I'm just like, my heart breaks for this poor woman. So of creatures that I've played, or creatures that I'd like to be interested in playing?
You can do either or.
Ooh, I'm trying to think like what creatures I've played. Oh, I will tell you that the Endura form of Derriere from Seven Deadly Sins was a throat ripper. I didn't know I was going to be doing it that day, and then all of a sudden I'm like screaming and growling and stuff, and I was like, I was not prepared for this. Fun. So it's definitely one that like was memorable, but also like painful literally to do. I try to avoid doing like the super creature stuff because I'm a classical soprano, and I'm like, I would like to maintain my upper register. One time for a mobile game, I don't know if it ever came out, I got to play a monkey, like a cute little monkey, and that was so much fun, and I'm very sad that I have no idea what it's called and whether or not it ever came out or anything along those lines. But I like making animal noises. Yeah, like I'd like to play a chicken in something, like really badly. I like making chicken noises. I did, for a show called Lego Friends, Girls on a Mission, I did narwhal noises.
I do really big noises.
Yeah, well, it's the like. So,
I learned that as orca.
Well, and then I don't think I got to do it, but I'm like making dolphin noises and things like that. So it's just like dorky little animal noises are really fun for me. Oh God, wait, what was her name? She was. I have to look up this character's name because this is going to drive me crazy. I want to say it was Polonia, from Seven Deadly Sins. I think it's Polonia. Let me check that. Deadly, I can type to, not Sons. Seven Deadly Sons would be a different show entirely. It's like the awful spin-off of Seven Brides for Seven Sons or whatever the fuck it's called. There's Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. That's an old movie. Does anyone know what I'm talking about when I say that? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Do you actually know it?
No, because my grandmother, she let me watch that. Well, that was the only movie we had at that time. The most famous one, the scene I love is when they're dancing, and they're it's obviously the Seven Brothers and also the townie folk, right? They're trying to battle each other out, and no matter what, you already know which one they're gonna end up with. Is because right at that last second, when they were dancing with the modernized whatever, they switched over and they went with the brothers and they did the final scene. The only scene that was always funny is when they're building the house and just they all go out. They're holding it back because they, obviously Adam's wife. Please don't fight. And they're all holding it in until finally the main husband gets hit. That's when they all they're like, forget it.
Like you mess with one of us and you mess with all of us.
Yeah, forget it. That's when all heck breaks loose. But no, that is my favorite movie.
I love this. I can't believe we organically had a Seven Brides for Seven Brothers conversation. Saturday.
continue on. I don't want to take anyone else's time. I'm like,
Polonia, I think Polonia is how we localized it because it's Peronia. She was a little demon cat girl in Seven Deadly Sins, and she's just there to be mean for 2 episodes before she dies.
Oh,
But it was like, doing the stuff like that. I was like kind of like a mean little cat girl.
And I was like, that was fun. I was like, like I said with Miwa earlier, it's like I don't always get to play characters like that because it's like, yes, I've got to play like either sultry characters or badass characters or something like that. And I say have to, like I'm being held at gunpoint. No, I love playing them, but sometimes getting to do something completely opposite, it feels like so much fun. It's so much fun to do. Like I said, I want to play chicken.
Short and call Moana.
I want to play a chicken. Yeah.
You got Moana, right? Yeah. They would hire you on the spot every
Yes.
What kind of feedback or reaction from fans have you found most surprising or heartwarming?
I mean, as a queer person, I will say that seeing people engage with who I am and how I speak about, being in the LGBTQ plus community, and also to some of the characters who, are members of the community as well, is very heartwarming to me, just knowing that I'm helping to create a safe space for them and show them that, it's normal, we exist, and everything can be good and positive. Something like Apex Legends, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say Bloodhound was my first exposure to a character who's non-binary, and that helped me realize who I was. And I'm like, that's all I can ask for as someone, as a creator, just being able to go you see yourself and you learn a little bit about yourself through the media that you consume. It's why I got so into it. It's why I wanted to be in video games. It's why I wanted to do it, because I was so obsessed with the stories myself. And again, wanted to be in Kingdom Hearts 2 so bad. So knowing that I get to do that for other people is just such a heartwarming thing. I would say the most surprising one I heard, and it's I don't really know if I should talk too much about video games right now under the circumstances, but I think this is genuinely the most surprising thing. There is a bit in the game I, the Somnium Files, where I portray a version of my character who is very different than who she actually is in the rest of the game. And when I was recording, I felt that version was very slimy and gross, and I remember slouching and feeling very jowly and doing something very different physically with my body, only for lesbians to get really, really turned on by that character. And I was like, what the heck, guys? And they're like, no, we're hot for this. And I'm like, why? Why are you hot for this? It's supposed to be scary. They're like, yeah, it is scary. I was like, what have I done? What have I done in this moment? What have we created over here other than awakening a lot of sapphics, really weird kinks? So yeah, I think that was the most surprising feedback I ever got. That something that I thought was going to be repulsive was quite appealing to some people. I think that took the surprise for me.
Thank you.
And then for me, my final question. So I know you voiced a specific character in Vinland Saga.
Yes!
And I was curious with a lot of, obviously there's Berserk, Vinland Saga, and also Vagabond as the main 3 manga that everyone should read in the industry. Mm-hmm. Which would be your top 3 instead of that being as the social norm of the top 3, Berserk, Vagabond, and obviously Vinland Saga? Because Vinland Saga.
Well, you see, that's also just an opinion though, because they're wonderful and beautiful, but at the same time, those are obviously all fall into a very dark area specifically, where other people would be you have to read something, you have to read something that's a little bit more shonen or something like that.